Hi everyone, and welcome to my studio. I thought it was about time that I did a little bit more in-depth studio tour. Uh, I know you see small pieces of videos on my social media platforms of in-process videos or photos, but I thought you would enjoy seeing what my studio looks like, how it's set up, what tools I use, and where the creativity happens. So let's turn this camera around and I'll give you a little tour. So I thought I would start with my soldering station. I have kind of two stations here, and I have my Haku, which is an air filtration for both stations. My son sometimes works in the studio and creates his own jewelry. I've always preferred standing up. I've never felt comfortable sitting down in soldering. I work with an acetylene torch, so my flame is, big and bushy. So I like to stand up. I have some ingot molds here, many different kinds of soldering blocks, which have seen way better days. A vast assortment of soldering picks. And over here I have my pickle pot and some tumblers and whatnot. So this is pretty much where all the soldering obviously happens. Over here I have two pretty large benches. I like to have a large space to set out my work and plan and create certain designs, line things up to see how I want things to go. And these are my two rolling mills. So I have a wire rolling mill from Pepe, and I have a Durston that's mostly just for sheet. It is just for sheet. And I roll out mostly ingots here and use a lot of texture plates on this when I'm texturing sheet. Down below is where I keep all my texture plates. So on the screen, I know you've probably seen me roll screen many times. These are texture plates that have been etched. And then we roll them. There's a multitude of handmade plates in here. We like to make our own plates, or at least I do. My mother has made her own plates. She's also a metalsmith. And my son makes his own plates. So yeah, we always have a lot of plates to choose from to create texture, because texture is great. Down here is my stamp collection. I'm not a big stamper, but sometimes I use them. I do like collecting them for some bizarre reason. This is a nice find. This I found in a garage. Actually, my sister's father-in-law's garage, and it is a typewriter font set, which is very cute, very cool too. And there's some decorative stamps that I've collected over the years, but I like to collect them, but I don't use them very often. So let's continue. Here is my bench. This is where I sit most of the time. I have a little small vintage. Another thing I like to collect are vintage tools. This is a little vintage vise that I found not too long ago on a trip to Vermont. I like to use antique finds to hold my tools. This is a sugar mold. I have them here, and they're bolted to my bench so I can keep my files in them. And then I have another one back there. This one also was a recent find, this little shelf here. This little container shelf. I don't really know what this was in previous life, but I bolted it to my shelf, and it helps me keep things off my bench, because I like to keep my bench as clean as possible. So I have space to lay things out on when I'm working on a new collection and whatnot. This is my bench pin. Let's see if I can hopefully get it off, which I rotate with, hopefully I can do this. Oops. Here we go. This is my my Quattro dust collector, and I have it, I MacGyvered the tubes. So it is connected to my bench pin, so when I do a lot of sanding, it's connected to my mini sand belt here, and it's also connected to my son's bench pin when he's working. So yeah, it's quite handy and keeps the dust away and silver away, and so I can send it in for the refinery. I also, my dust collector, you can turn it on from here. And then I have, at my bench, I have two flex shafts. One is pedal operated and one is dial operated. I like using the dial one for stone setting and texturing, because you just have a little bit more control over the speed and whatnot. Your basic drawer is filled with many hand tools, files, many pliers, and then one of my recent purchases is this lovely cabinet, which I can keep all my tools in. My ring mandrels, forming tools, stone setting, some disc cutters. So that was a broken disc cutter, but this is all stone setting. This is the mini vise, the GRS mini vise. I do have another Weaver vise over here on my stump, but turning back, I hope you guys don't get too dizzy. But yeah, this is my stone setting drawer, and then over here is more metal forming and disc cutters and dabbing punches and whatnot. This is a fun drawer. So on the top of my favorite red cabinet, I have some handy tools. I have my ring stretcher and my ring reducer, which is a definite must if you're making a lot of rings. Obviously some bracelet mandrels. Another kind of open surface for me to lay out work, so I'm starting a new beach stone collection, hopefully soon. Above it, you know, I don't know if everybody has the cabinet, or no, the container store, which is also one of my favorite stores. These all have accessories for the flex shaft and sanding wheels and grinding wheels and polishing wheels and whatnot. Over here is in this vise, I keep my ring bender, so when I need to make thick gauge ring shanks, this helps form the ring shank. This is a Pepe tool. On the wall, I like to keep, besides Buzz Lightyear, books on, this is Tim McGrath's Metalsmith Guide. There's a book on clasps, or templates that I use to create Versat shapes, and also my notes on how I made certain pieces. So if I have to make them again, although it's in this file, if I have to make them again, I know how to make them, or I can remember how to make them. That's one of my sister's pieces, a little acorn enamel and a repurposed frame. So on the other side of the garage, I have two Harbor Freight benches. These were the first benches I had when I moved back to the States. I do recommend these benches if you're just starting out, and they're very sturdy and quite handy. Kind of a pain to put together, but very sturdy. They do take a good beating. As you can see, they're very well consumed. I did have to adjust the height of the bench pin, so because it's not the right height, but yeah, these are great benches for pounding away on. And this is my, like I said before, my sun station. Another little swivel vise here. Zone flex shaft. Of course, the station is always, you know, a little messy, but I try to not comment too much. So, and then this is the other bench that is always dirty. It's the polishing bench, and we do have a flat lap and very, very minor lapidary stuff going on here. Just some touch-ups and a little shaping, a little bit of some cabs, nothing too elaborate. And then on the end, I have an actual bench grinder. And that's why everything's down on this end, because it's just, everything gets really dirty and dusty down here. This bench grinder does not have proper ventilation. So my only MacGyvering tip is to have a tray of water underneath it, and it will collect the silver dust. And when the water kind of evaporates, I clean it out, and with paper towels, and I put it in my recycle bin that goes off to the refinery. That's the best way I know how to deal with that until I get some proper ventilation here. And wear your mask always. And so, yeah, so this is the dirty bench. The dirty bench that stays in the corner. So that is my studio. It's in a garage. It's certainly not glamorous, but it's where all the creativity happens. I hope you liked having a peek at my studio and seeing where I spend many hours creating and making jewelry. If you're a jewelry maker and you have questions about my tools or my setup, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Take care, everyone.